Sorry about that. A black screen is not supposed to greet us when I switch over. Welcome to ohmTown. I am Mayor Watt. I'm looking at my screen, making sure everything is working properly, and it looks like it is. And it is 6 p.m., February 24th, 2022. And today's news is another eclectic array across 6 different categories, upwards of 50 different channels. Each one of these channels I hope to bring to fruition here on Twitch, and then eventually each of those episodes gets brought over to YouTube and the podcast. Kind of go through this at the beginning of every episode, but I'm going to stop doing that here at the end of this month, and hopefully people just catch on. We'll see. Right now, the way that it breaks down is it gets funneled into 6 categories: create, news, education, entertainment, social, and technology. Of those, the context that I add to it, if I can, is that I focus on business, technology, and society. The merging of the 3, it's kind of a crossroads, and there's a lot of associated discussion, associated thought that goes into it. Now, not everything is going to be interesting to everybody. That's why it's a broad array of topics. There is a lot of discussion going on right now about the conflict between Russia and Ukraine. I haven't really chosen anything that digs deep into it, but ohmTown aggregates quite a bit of news even on that topic. I'm going to move something over a little bit. There we go. And I'm making a lot of changes to ohmTown.com still. There's some functionality that has changed. If there are any problems, let me know. But in the meantime, let's get into this show. The very first article has to do with the Ban to Bezel channel, and it's introducing the new Nomos Tangente Neomatic Platinum Gray 35 and 39. There's a video over at Monochrome Watches, but I'm going to click this link. It says classic with a twist, formally casual, business casual, elegant with a modern touch. No, this isn't an ad, but it is sort of. I have no relationship with monochrome-watches.com, but the article is written by Bryce Gouliard, and shows these 2 rather classic looking watches as a video. I'm not going to play the video. I want you to go over to monochrome-watches.com. It's monochrome-watches.com. Marketing wise, I would not have chose that name. You never want a dash. You never want a spelling bee. You never want to have to explain your domain name. But they are probably doing quite well all on their own. So I'm not giving them advice. I'm just giving this stream and those who might stumble across it my perspective. I like these watches. There's a whole video of it over at monochrome-watches.com. Go on over there and check them all out. But this is a very nice, not flashy, casual looking watch with great color, great looks, silver bezel, white, perhaps enameled white face, and blue arms. It's really nice looking. I want it. And they have different designs apparently. A square one, a round one, a larger round one with numbers or not. Looks pretty neat. In all honesty, I think it looks pretty neat. And it looks like, let's see if they've got a picture of the back of it. It's a flat faced watch, no curve on its glass. I'm going to scroll a little bit more and see if they've got a picture of the back. Yeah, it's kind of a standard fare on the back. Very closed. It's not skeletonized in any way. You can barely see any of the inner workings, a few gears. But it's looks like it's German engineering. Pretty solid. It says solid steel back. For 3,400 US dollars, 2,600 euro, or $3,800 US dollars, or 2,900 euro with a sapphire case back. Looks pretty neat. And if you are interested in it, obviously I scroll really fast. I'm sorry if you are watching this and it turns your stomach. But you can go over to monochrome-watches.com and read more about it. If you are into watches, you will probably like this watch. This next article, and let me do this. I keep forgetting to do this, but I'm going to copy these links into chat. So if you want to, you can go over to ohmTown, and from there you can go on to monochrome-watches. The next article is over at the Word in Tech. Today's word is dbrand. I've seen dbrand pop up and disappear off my radar over the years, and this one says dbrand's limited edition leather skins are back for good. So gadget skin maker dbrand is announcing that its line of adhesive leather skins for smartphones and laptops are now available for sale once again, and this time they will remain as a permanent fixture on its online store. Vegetable tanned genuine leather skins first launched as a limited edition back in December, and now they're back. So 3M adhesive, $35 for smartphones, $70 for laptops. Let's click this link. This article was written for The Verge by Antonio G. Di Benedetto, or Benedetto. Pardon me if I say the name wrong. It says 3 colors of leather across a range of devices that patina over time. If that's your thing, then you will like these. What I like about them is that they don't add much dimensionality. Well, let me rephrase that. So there's different types of dimensionality there. It doesn't add much thickness to the device, but it does add dimensionality and texture. Color that isn't the color of the phone itself. It depends on if you like a naked device so that you can see the color and the design, the style, the aesthetic itself. Or if you want to protect it in some modicum of way, you'll want a dbrand skin on your device. I don't know about you, but if one of my devices gets scratched, I tend to fixate on that scratch and want to get a whole new device. I mean, if it happened to my car, I want to get a whole new car. I'm kind of obsessive that way. And something has to happen to keep me away from focusing on it. Otherwise, I focus like a laser. Like, for instance, I know that I have one hot pixel on that monitor, and every time I look at that monitor, my eyes go straight to it. I can't stop it. I want to replace it. I can't justify replacing because of one hot pixel. May not even be in warranty. Maybe in warranty even. I don't know. It's a lot of work just to send it off. At any rate, go over to The Verge and check out their article on dbrand's limited edition leather skins. If it's there permanently, I don't know if it's limited edition anymore. This next article is The Word in Tech. Is in The Word in Tech as well. This has to do with Activision Blizzard's harassment settlement is one step closer to approval. A federal judge is allowing plans for a settlement between Activision Blizzard and the U.S. Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, the EEOC, to move forward, denying California state regulators' request for a delay. And if all the evidence is there, let's keep moving forward. Get this thing done. A judge denied California's regulators' request to delay it. Why is that? A.D. Robertson over at The Verge wrote this article. Let's see. The EEOC and Activision Blizzard agreed last year to settle sexual harassment and discrimination claims against the game's publisher, which employees have accused of facilitating sexist abuse at the highest levels. There's a lot of talk about it. The DFEH appealed last month, but while the appeal will proceed, the EEOC's case won't be stayed during that period. That's interesting. Very interesting. So the complaints against Microsoft Blizzard predate Microsoft announcing its plans to acquire it. I'd have to say that Microsoft acquiring it while it is in this kind of peril pretty much is buying it at its low. But the moment that Microsoft announced it, I'm sure that its stock picked back up, regardless of what this is. This settlement requires Activision Blizzard to set up an $18 million fund for employees who suffered harm alongside other measures, a change that would come alongside the departure of some high-level figures at the company, but not apparently, according to this article, the CEO, Bobby Kotick, who, if they are stemming the flow of this towards being catastrophic, good for the CEO. If the CEO is wrapped up in it, then I guess it'll come out during the case, during the trial. But they've met a settlement plan, so this is probably a done deal. And at 18 million, the faster it disappears, the better off for both companies, Activision Blizzard and Microsoft. But let's keep on trucking through this. I will never understand why there's harassment like this that takes place. You literally have to look at another human being as something other than a human being to harass them. But like I've said in other episodes, I'm viewed as rather naive in the world, even though I see it for what it is. I see what happens. I see these things. I just want it known that I don't understand why humans have to act this way. So let's move on. The rapid emergence of new SARS-CoV-2 variants due to the virus's ability to momentarily accelerate its evolutionary pace apparently is a sector of research. New research led by the Doherty Institute has found that SARS-CoV, it's COVID-2 virus, has the ability to momentarily accelerate its evolutionary pace, enabling variants to emerge more rapidly than other viruses. This has to be a survival trait that is something that researchers haven't seen before. I mean, I've never even heard of it. Obviously, I am not deep into the reeds of research of viruses. I'm not a scientist in that domain. But it says recently published in Molecular Biology and Evolution. This article, by the way, is written by the Peter Doherty Institute for Infection and Immunity. It's hosted at phys.org. Recently published Molecular Biology and Evolution is where it's the research has been published. It's the team led by the University of Melbourne, Dr. Sebastian Duchesne, an Australian Research Council DECRA Research Fellow at the Doherty Institute. Wow. And lead author on the paper found that the virus causes the disease COVID-19 is actually undergoing short-lived mutational bursts and then returning to its normal state. That is, well, it's not a scientific term, but it's freaky. Wow. However, what we're seeing with the variants of SARS-CoV-2, particularly the variants of concern, is that they have undergone many more mutations than we would expect under the normal evolutionary pace of similar coronaviruses. The Delta variant, for example, emerged within just 6 weeks from its ancestral form. And why is it occurring? Dr. Duchesne's laboratory conducted computational analysis of hundreds of genome sequences from SARS-CoV-2 to understand the mechanisms under which variants of concern emerge, with a focus on the first four: alpha, beta, gamma, and delta. It's like someone's pumping the accelerator on a car. Fascinating. Well, they go into greater detail over at the article. They have a fascinating picture. It looks like it's just a perfect virus. I mean, this thing it looks like something that you would see in a sci-fi movie, not in nature, right? You'd think that there's some flaws. Maybe, obviously, this is something that was made artificially, not the virus, but the picture that I'm looking at. The picture that I'm looking at looks like it's made by an artist, right? But if this is what it looks like when it's in a scanning electron microscope or in other means of, looking at it optically, it just looks like it is perfectly created to do something horrible. There's nothing nice in its design. It looks like it wants to take over the world. So let's move on. The next article, it got me simply because of the phrase, the title of it. Okay, so this is in the Word and Tech channel again. UA Flow Velocity Win 2 Review, Smarter, Faster Running Shoes. And it says, these smart shoes can tell you how to run faster. So when you click the link, you're taken over to The Verge. It's an article that's written by Victoria Song, and has a picture of the shoes, and they kind of look like your normal everyday shoe. Although they have this really neat grid pattern with kind of like a spider webbing going between thicker webbing. It's webbing on top of webbing. I mean, it's really neat looking pattern. So I dig the style of it. It says, when you Google best running shoes, you're not going to find Under Armour at the top of many lists. That's usually reserved for Brooks, Hoka, Saucony, Nike, New Balance, and a few other specialty brands. I know somebody that loves New Balance. Can't get their shoes anymore for their particular style that they wanted. But there's one thing Under Armour's got that the others well-established brands don't: a line of connected running shoes, and the latest is the $160 Under Armour Flow Velocity Win 2. And as you might guess from the name, it's meant to help you run faster. So let's see. Uses Under Armour's all-in-one Flow foam. It acts as both the midsole and outsole, shaves 2 to 3 ounces off the shoe's overall weight. Let's see. Has an interesting tread pattern on it. It doesn't look like it has any real grip, but apparently its particular design isn't meant to be running in puddles and whatnot. Maybe it does just fine. Obviously, I'm not the runner, and I'm not reading all of the material in this article. It says, I've tested 3 of Under Armour's connected sneakers already. This is my 4th. That's the author of the article saying this. And they all share the same basic features. There's a sensor in the midsole of the right shoe that gathers data about your running form. The sensor then connects to your phone via Bluetooth to provide you with insights and audio coaching in the Map My Run app. It's fairly straightforward. The neat thing is, unlike other smart devices, the Velocity Win 2 doesn't need to be charged ever. You do, however, have to update the firmware once you pair the shoes to your phone. Interesting. Wow, interesting. I might have to buy these for someone. Hundreds of miles in Under Armour connected shoes over the years. I might get these for me. Interesting. I love doing the data side of things. But I've never been this into it, but I might have to, because I don't have any other solution for it. You know, you can run with an Apple Watch on, you can run with the phone on you, you can buy all kinds of apps, but this kind of telemetry is pretty neat. You can also obviously buy other devices, things that strap onto your shoe, other devices that go on your wrist or wherever. But in your shoe, it's really fascinating. I kind of dig this. At any rate, go over to The Verge and read this article. I'm going to scroll back up. And again, it's UA Flow Velocity Win 2 Review. Smarter, faster running shoes. And it's written by Victoria Song. And great photography too, I think. Amelia Halawadi Kraules, I think, or Krails. I did the photography. So go over to The Verge and check it out. Obviously, the link is in chat right now, and you can click on that as well. The next article is over in the Mobile channel. Learn how to be comfortable being alone and appreciate solitude. One of the aspects of this show is that I try and invite discussion about sociology and society, technology and business. It says here, solitude doesn't have to feel lonely. It can be restoring and refreshing with a little practice. Not all of us want to be alone. Not all of us want to be covered by people all the time in every form and fashion. So we don't all want to go to parties every weekend. But this is an article over at the New York Times. It says solitude doesn't have to feel lonely. It can be restoring and refreshing with a little practice. And the article is written by Holly Burns. It says Sally Snowman loves to be alone as the keeper of Boston Light, a centuries-old lighthouse on Little Brewster Island in Boston Harbor. She's had a lot of practice for almost 19 years. She's lived there from April through October. So the article has some pictures. It talks about solitude being enjoyable if you're in control of it. And it says the key is to see solitude as a choice, not a punishment. And in a 2019 survey, Dr. Thomas, who is quoted in this as Virginia Thomas, found that teenagers who deliberately sought out solitude showed higher levels of well-being and were less lonely than their peers who were alone just because of circumstances. And the same was true in young adults aged 18 to 25, who also showed increased levels of personal growth and self-acceptance and lower levels of depression. I suppose if you choose to be solo, right, or to seek solitude, then it really isn't, being foisted upon you. So you can be okay with it. And I guess understanding that and getting in touch with yourself about that, being okay in your own skin, it takes a lot to get to that point, particularly when you're young. As you get older, you basically just, anecdotally, you just go, I am who I am. And that's the way it is. You can always change. The more I learn, the more I change, because context matters. That's a phrase that you'll hear me say often enough. It says, in fact, most research shows that we benefit from more solitude as we age. Yeah, I enjoy my alone time. Most of the time I spend it working on projects, so I keep very busy. So go over to the New York Times and read the rest of this article for yourself. That is what I encourage, and I want you to come back and talk to me about it. And let me know what you think of this article on solitude and learning to love being alone. And I just want to say, you never really are alone. You might think that you are, but there are always people out there willing to listen, willing to help, that can point you in the right direction if you ever are feeling absolutely, truly alone. We've all been through similar but not exact situations. And because of that, there's a lot of people that understand your perspective. Again, context matters, so it's unique to you. But we, people who have empathy, sympathy, compassion, the ability to understand the human condition, are definitely willing to facilitate it as best possible. So don't ever feel like you're truly alone, and devoid of other touch points. You can always reach out to somebody. Just look and try not to worry about it. Just reach out. This article was written by Holly Burns, again, over at New York Times. The next article is in The Word in Tech, and it's titled, California Officials Approve Plan to Crack Down on Microplastics Polluting the Ocean. And I'm going to, there's the link. California aims to sharply limit the spiraling scourge of microplastics in the ocean while urging more study of this threat to fish, marine mammals, and potentially to humans under a state panel approved Wednesday. So let's click this link and take a look at it. It's over at phys.org. James Rainey is the author. Has a picture of a water bottle floating around in the white foam of a beach. So if you don't realize it, plastics eventually break down. The sun decomposes them and they turn into microplastics. Over time, they get into fish. We eat the fish. They end up in us. I read somewhere, and I'd have to search. They might have it in this article, but let's just keep on running through this. The Ocean Protection Council voted to make California the first state to adopt a comprehensive plan to rein in the pollution, recommending everything from banning plastic-laden cigarette filters and polystyrene drinking cups to the construction of more green zones to filter plastics from stormwater before it spills into the sea. Really, we need to just capture as much plastic as possible and recover it. And if it takes a taxpayer-funded initiative to stimulate recycling and making it easier and easier and easier to recover plastic, coming up with new technologies to cleanse the plastics that we do acquire, because the problem is we get plastic, but if it has weird stuff in it, like oils, it's very difficult to recycle the paper. It's very difficult to recycle the plastic. We have to make sure that it's clean enough that we can recycle it. But I know that I can take bottles and shred them up and turn them into 3D printing filament for my 3D printers. And so all of my prints ends up in a bin that I will eventually shred completely and turn into filament again, although it's not pretty necessarily filament. If I separate it properly, it is pretty good. It says here the proposal in the report are only advisory, with approval from the agencies and the legislature required to put many of the reforms into place, but the signaling of resolve from the council members, including the controller Betty Yee and the heads of the natural resources and environmental protection agencies, puts California in the vanguard of a worldwide push on the issue. We simply can't afford to poison our oceans. The oceans provide so much food to so many people. It's just underrepresented of how damaging plastic in the oceans are, as well as in freshwater sources. We throw stuff into the gutter, and that plastic ends up somewhere, sometimes into river runoff. So hopefully California, and California is really kind of an eco warrior out there in many regards. They've got a lot of statements when it comes to chemicals and even devices that say that it's carcinogenic or poisonous or can cause environmental concerns in stuff that I'm buying. And I'm on the East Coast of the United States, and I still see California notices. But go over to phys.org and read the rest of this article. It says microplastics are commonly defined as particles smaller than 5 millimeters, about 3/16 of an inch in diameter. Well, there are a lot more that are smaller than that. Some come from the breakdown of plastic bags, bottles, wraps. Others are derived from clothing fibers, fishing gear, containers. I'm not sure why they would call out fishing gear. It must have some point somewhere. But I would say that nowadays, after 2 years of masks and mask disposal, I'd say that masks are kind of the new 6-pack. You know, those little 6-pack rings where people were told, cut them so that they don't end up around a turtle's head or something. I'd say that our filter masks are like that nowadays. I see them blowing around outside all the time. But that's just 2 years of those things in great use and disposal. So plastics are all over the place. It says the often invisible pollution has been found not only in the most remote oceans, but in seemingly pristine mountain streams, in farmlands worldwide, and within human placentas, stool samples, and lung tissue. Yeah, it's everywhere. So it's up to us to stop it. We're the ones that are consuming it. We got to start recycling it and recovering it and not just throwing it around. But I've seen some really horrible videos of people just throwing all kinds of trash and stuff into rivers. So let's continue on. This next article is in the Daily News Show, which is this. Sothebys NFT Sale, expected to hit 30 million, suddenly canceled. If you don't know about NFTs, basically they're called non-fungible tokens. They represent the embodiment, ownership of whatever it is that is the NFT. So it can be a picture that is digital. It could be the representative element in digital form of something that's tangible out in the real world. It's quite interesting in concept, but there seems to be a lot of fraud, a lot of misrepresentation. This says CryptoPunk auction was supposed to set a new benchmark for NFT prices, but instead the consignor bowed out and posted a meme on Twitter. Yeah, nothing builds confidence like memeing something. So let's click this link. It takes us over to New York Times. The CryptoPunk auction was supposed to set a new benchmark for NFT prices. So it has a picture of it posted on the New York Times, a collage of 104 CryptoPunks that was slated for auction at Sotheby's on Wednesday. This article is written by Zachary Small. Let's see if we can find something here. Derek Parsons, the Sotheby's spokesman, said in a statement Wednesday night that a lot was withdrawn prior to the sale following discussions with the consignor, but he did not share details of how the deal fell apart. Others said people were upset. It's bad for the NFT community. The NFT boom, which some estimate have generated more than 25 billion in sales last year, has also raised questions of eventual NFT bust as Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies see their values drop. We've seen this before. Values drop, it ebbs and flows, and if you do it right, you can make out like a bandit. Because if Bitcoin gets adopted again to a greater degree and people buy into it, it will go from 30,000 to 60,000 a Bitcoin, and you will make $30,000. Even if you were to buy a Bitcoin today and it goes up to 60, there's a lot of risk. It could decline back to 1,000, maybe less. But, some people, it's no guts, no glory. This Larva Labs created the CryptoPunks in 2017 as a generative project consisting of 10,000 pixelated characters. Dozens of these early NFTs have each sold for more than $1 million in Ethereum. It says it has a US dollar sign. So in Ethereum cryptocurrency, with overall sales totaling more than $2 billion, according to Larva Labs' website. All right. Sothebys said the 104 CryptoPunks were bought in a single blockchain transaction by an anonymous collector who goes by, and then it says 0x650D. It's a little hex code there. That might translate into something. I don't know. Anyway, you can go over to this article at the New York Times. It's titled Sothebys NFT Sale Expected to Hit 30 Million, Suddenly Canceled. The link is already in chat. And just a reminder, yes, it will be on the website. Yes, it'll be on the website at ohmTown.com. It will be in the YouTube channel when it gets posted, and it will be in the description for the episode of the podcast, of which this will be verbatim. It won't be edited and copied over. I want complete transparency. If I hiccup or, I stumble across something, I want you to actually see or hear at least everything. So, and I like doing it live. Actually, it's not like, I love doing it live. I would prefer more people engage in the chat. But again, I'm not running around, saying follow me on YouTube or on Twitch or on Twitter. I post a message. I don't really push it. I don't run around trying to grab people. But if you stumble across this, please swing on by and say hi. That would be great. And if you're in my chat now, say hi. Let me know you're there. Ask any questions. If you want me to go to a different site, I'll even do that. But the next article that's up for the news is in the Warcrafters channel. How co-op works in Elden Ring. So if you don't know about Elden Ring, it's dropping later tonight. And some people are actually, they got an early access key, and they're allowed to actually stream it and play it. I believe it's offline. There are online servers, but I don't think that they're online for even the streamers. But it says, wondering how Elden Ring co-op works so you can summon your friends. If you're already making your way through the vast world of Lands Between, chances are you've already come across messages left by other players with varying degrees of helpfulness. Elden Ring's online elements are entirely optional, but if you're new to Souls games, you might be put off by the thought of invading players, making an already difficult game even more tricky. So I'm going to click this link here, and it'll take you over to PC Gamer. Sarah James is the author. Summon players to help you in the Lands Between. You're going to need them. So I haven't seen anybody do this in a live stream yet, but I haven't been really hopping around to many of them. But essentially, you summon your friends, and you have to enable it. You're given the option to play online or offline at the start of the game. You can change this at any time through the network section of the systems tab in the menu, and you'll need to restart it. So you basically summon your friend and fight a boss. It says to reveal summon signs left by other players in the Lands Between, you'll need to use them. Use the item Furl Calling Finger Remedy, and it's crafted using Erdly flowers. So you're basically going to be running around scooping up as many resources as you can and crafting as many things as you can. And then there's summon pools. And some of the bosses that I've seen so far, even the mini bosses, are pretty darn tough. So you will want to go over to PC Gamer and read more about it. You don't need a Furl Calling Finger Remedy to access and use summoning pools, though you'll need the small golden effigy item if you want to send your own summon sign to the pool. So it's a little bit arcane, but you can get there. I love everything that I've seen about Elden Ring, but it builds a level of frustration for me, for my style of gameplay. I'm kind of a base builder kind of a person, more than this style. And losing again and again and again to a boss drives me nuts. So there you have it. I probably won't be playing Elden Ring, but I encourage you all to at least watch it, try it out if you get a chance, and see if you want to invest. I've heard amounts of time to play this game, range somewhere between upwards of 80 hours. And if you want to do everything, I think it goes well beyond that. Because it's an open world environment, you can just go hustling wherever you want to. And one of the neat things about the game is that the mobs don't increase or decrease in level based on your level. So they don't scale. And I absolutely love that, because it makes me go back to the beginning of WoW. I love games that have zones, and if I want to go back to the beginning of a zone where there's level 2 players or level 2 mobs, so be it. Let me bring my 120 level whatever Death Knight over to kick some, I don't know, low level mob butt. The next article is over in the continuity report. Hulu nabs US rights to Anton's animated family film Fireheart. And it says Anton's ambitious animated family feature, directed by Laurent Zitoun, right? Or Zitoun, sorry, Zitoun. I guess of Leap fame, and Theodore Tai of Kung Fu Panda, with a voice cast with William Shatner, Olivia Cooke, Laurie Holden, and Kenneth Branagh. Wow. I'm going to click this link, take you over there. This article is written for Variety.com by Elsa Keslesi. And this is an animated film called Fireheart. And it looks like it has to do with someone who becomes a New York Fire Department firefighter. And it'll debut on Hulu. Let's see, the film follows a fearless 16-year-old girl, Georgia Nolan, who dreams of being the world's first ever female firefighter when a mysterious arsonist starts burning down Broadway. New York's firemen begin vanishing, and Georgia's father, Sean, is called out of retirement by the mayor of New York to lead the investigation into the disappearances. Sounds like it might be fun. It says Fireheart recently begun its international rollout in theaters and had a strong opening in France with 900,000 tickets sold, as well as in Latin America with over 1.5 million grossed in its second week for IDC. Huh. I'm going to have to search for it. I hope that it's available in some other way. I mean, I prefer buying my movies and watching them in a home theater. Not everybody is really interested in doing that, but I prefer not going out to movie theaters anymore, particularly with the pandemic. It's just kind of pushed me into an area of comfort where, I can get my drink, I can get my food. I don't have to worry about other people. Not that I'm antisocial, not that I'm worried about anything anymore. But I've got everything I need. And, except for the $25 popcorn. So let's continue on. The next article is over in the Mobile channel. And it's Texas man wants his Bored Ape NFT back and sues OpenSea for $1 million. So there was some issue with Bored Ape Yacht Club NFT, and some people lost their NFTs were stolen from it. Last week, a Texas man filed a lawsuit against NFT marketplace OpenSea, claiming its negligence was responsible for him losing his Bored Ape Yacht Club NFT. Filed in the U.S. District Court. I'm going to have to pull this to see what the filing actually consists of. Timothy McKimmey claims a bug known to OpenSea allowed his NFT Bored Ape number 3475 to be bought off him for a penny of Ethereum. Today, that's worth $26. When flipped it, and then flipped it for $99, which is today worth $249,000. As such, he's suing OpenSea for his digital image to be returned and for damages exceeding $1 million. Now you might be asking, why is he suing for over $1 million when Bored Ape last sold for just shy of $250? Well, it's because Bored Ape is apparently a rare one. So click this link. It'll take you over to vice.com. It's an article that's written by Edward Ongweso Jr. Pardon me. And, I have to say, of all the things, this is kind of a perceived value thing. And if people are willing to pay for this, and there is some, first off, if there is a glitch, if there's anything, if there was zero intent for this person to sell it for a penny and watch it get flipped for $250,000, I don't care if the whole world thinks that it's all a scam. That person did not intend to sell it, but it was taken from them because of whatever mechanisms were in place. Now, I know that the context of this is that there was basically a contract that was partially filled out. Something had to cause the transaction to begin, then it got filled out later. It wasn't a complete contract when it was begun, but somehow, and I didn't go digging into the middle and end of this, but that contract should never have been completed because it was marked as being filled when it was actually partially filled. That's my understanding of it. And so they basically just plugged in data, the people who lifted it off of Timothy McKimmey. And it should never have happened. It just should never have happened. So I don't even care if anybody thinks that it's a scam. Not this, but that NFTs are a scam. There was somebody that had a valuable asset, somebody that stole it and sold it and made $250,000 off of it. That asset should be returned, and all of that money needs to be pursued, but it isn't Timothy McKimmey's problem. Timothy McKimmey should simply get that asset given back to them wholesale, but it's going to take a lawsuit to do that. Why should he benefit for a $1 million item? Well, somebody's going to have to pay for this lawsuit. And if that asset is worth over $1 million by the time of this asset or this trial is completed, and they don't get the asset back, then $1 million is the going rate. I mean, that's basically 4 times the original price. And at the rate things go up and down, who knows? It could have been a $1 million item by now. The attention that Ethereum NFTs Bored Ape is going to get, let me tell you, it's going to be worth more. It says plaintiff's Bored Ape has significant value. This is unquestionable. For example, Justin Bieber purchased Bored Ape 3001 for 500 Ethereum or $1.3 million at the time of the transaction. And it had a rarity score of 53.66. In contrast, the plaintiff's Bored Ape rarity score is 138.52. Oh my gosh. And looks like it's 1/7 higher. It's 7 times higher in the scale at 1392. It is in the top 14% rarity, and it is significantly rarer than Bieber's. Yeah, I don't even know if If the scale is based off of that reference point, this is more than $1 million for this asset. But you can't steal an asset. That's what I don't get about this. You know, OpenSea, regardless of the bug, they need to claw it back. You know, this is the point of a digital asset, right? A physical print, right? Let's say the Mona Lisa. If that gets stolen, it's impossible to find it unless the person gets caught, either trying to sell it or is telling people that they've got it in their basement. Whatever the case may be, it's really hard to get that back. But this is a digital asset. Even the blockchain knows where it is. It should be reversed. This transaction should be reversed. Publicly documented that it was reversed. Put a little star on it and make it happen. It's supposed to be more secure. But crypto is anonymous, right? There's a lot more to this story, I'm sure. Let's continue on. The next article is in the Continuity Report channel. Obviously, this is about movies and stuff. Toronto International Film Festival returns in person this fall. Well, from September 8th to 18th, you're going to be able to go back to the film festival in person, welcoming local and international guests. I guess the virus is planned to be gone by then. Entirely gone, right? Or its acceptable risk. This is an article that's written by Ethan Schanfeld for Variety.com. Let's see. Also returning in person are TIFF's networking and celebrity events, including the opening night party, industry conference, filmmaker dinners, industry networking events, press and programmers events, and tribute awards gala. Like many other film gatherings made for public reasons as COVID raged, they basically shut down everything. In 2021, TIFF did host live screenings, but at reduced capacity. I'm at reduced capacity at this point. Go over to Variety.com and read the rest of this article, and then come on back and talk to me tomorrow about this. Ethan Schanfeld wrote a great article about what the status is of the Toronto International Film Festival. Okay, I'm going to have to kind of hustle here. I've got a lot more. Jason Aldean sells catalog to Spirit Music for $100 million. I keep hearing about this. People really want to just sell their catalog and move on. Cash in on that money. Jem Aswad is the author of this article over at Variety. If you sell it for $100 million and then you can just focus on your next iteration of music, so be it. Money in the hand is a whole lot better than waiting for paychecks to show up as smaller checks over the years. So $100 million is a ton of money. You can invest it for 12% and make more money off of the interest alone and enjoy the rest of your life. The next article is in the Continuity Report. Colin Farrell's Penguin banned from smoking in The Batman, and is quoted as saying, "I fought valiantly for a cigar." The Penguin, often depicted in comic books with his trademark top hat, monocle, and cigarette, but none of the signatures are sported by Colin Farrell in the upcoming The Batman. Let's click this link. I don't see how that is even possible, but we are in a new era where we're not trying to promote drug use and drinking and smoking and whatever else. Any vice is basically kind of being nixed. It says big studios make decisions around such things as the presence of cigarettes in films. I fought valiantly for a cigar. At one stage I said, I can have it unlit. Just let me have it unlit. And they said no. A bunch of 12-year-olds are going to start smoking Cuban cigars because the Penguin is smoking cigars in a movie. Emma Stone had to do the same thing with Cruella, apparently. Apparently it's not allowed in 2021. This is, I liken this. This is an article that's written by Zach Sharf for Variety, by the way. I liken this to basically the kind of seesaw, the knee-jerk reaction to anything. We've had a history of, you know, basically mumbo jumbo pseudoscience garbage being pushed onto people by doctors saying that cigarettes are great, but that's a bygone era. 50 years ago is when that was taking place. But it perpetuated this. It made people addicted to cigarettes. Same thing with drinking, same thing with drugs, same thing with anything. If people see it and it's being purported to be cool or healthy or doesn't do anything bad, but always is good, then people do it. So they're not wrong in that people will start smoking. I mean, it is demonstrably shown. You can look at history for this. People start naming their kids after characters in movies because they think it's cool. Only to find out at the end of Game of Thrones that, well, you probably shouldn't name your daughter that. Anyway, let's keep on trucking. The next one in the Continuity Report channel is Spotify removes Alex Jones' show. The podcast, it was uploaded to Spotify, and they basically said, we're gonna just pull it. So it says Spotify appears to have quietly pulled several episodes of the Alex Jones show, hosted by the notorious right-wing conspiracy theorist and founder of InfoWars, after a media watchdog group discovered that several episodes had appeared in the streaming service in recent days. Spotify banned Jones from its platform after Apple Podcasts, Facebook, and YouTube did the same. This is an article by Todd Spangler, and it has Alex Jones in his, I guess, mild-mannered form, yet still screaming at me. I'm not quite sure. Anyway, that's the picture on the Variety.com website. So Todd Spangler, nice choice of picture. So, despite that, since February 20th, full-length episodes of The Alex Jones Show had been uploaded daily to Spotify, according to a report Wednesday by Media Matters for America, a liberal advocacy group. Look, I'm not one for censoring, but when you are just screaming bogus BS at people, yeah, I think that the website, the service, society should say no. And you're not being silenced. You're being told that you can't say this crap on X service. So if you want to spin up your own service, you have the money to do a website. Now, if somebody says to the web host, hey, this guy is spewing all of this bogus stuff and has been sued by various people and they've won against him, and so on and so forth, right? There's a lot of context here. It's always about the context. If the web host doesn't want you, then poof, off you go. Start up your own company and host your own stuff. Buy a data center. You've got the money. Host your own stuff. If you have to rely on somebody else and they don't want you there, you're going to have to go somewhere else. Plain and simple. I've had to do it, not because I'm spewing garbage, lies, and BS, but because whoever it was that I was with couldn't do what I wanted. So I spun up my own stuff. I've started up companies that basically were competitors for the companies that I was formerly hosted on. They don't want me, I go somewhere else. Anyway, off you go, Alex Jones. The next article is in the mobile channel. California prosecutor defends saying racial slur while quoting hate speech. Orange County District Attorney Todd Spitzer on Wednesday said he will, quote, not be deterred, end quote, by people attacking him for saying the N-word during a 2019 speech, which the attorney called disingenuous political attacks. So let's click this link. It might be, oh, it's The Hill. The article is written by Brad Dress for thehill.com. And let's scroll down a little bit. It says, it's hard to hear and it's hard to look at, but unless we confront it head on, hate will continue to fester and people of color will continue to suffer at the hands of haters. That's what he said on Wednesday regarding it. Spitzer said he was incredibly proud of the work we do to prosecute hate crimes and keep Orange County safe for everyone. And you know what? I have to say, saying the N-word in reference to hate crimes, in context of the hate crime, I agree with Spitzer. Now, a person who says it out on the street and is exclaiming it to somebody, they deserve to get punched in the face. There are laws against it. You will be charged with assault or battery. It really depends. If you make contact, it's battery. If you make somebody flinch, it's assault. Depends on your state, depends on your city, depends on if somebody wants to prosecute. But in the context of talking about hate speech, saying that word becomes visceral. You literally want to jump across the counter and cover the mouth of the person that says it, because you know that it's innocuous. You know that it didn't have the intent of enraging you, but it does, because it's a disgusting word. And I've said it in other episodes. If you're going to say the word and mean it, expect to get punched in the face, right? Everybody has a plan until they're punched in the face, right? Mike Tyson said that. Wise words for Mike Tyson, right? But this, they're talking about hate speech. And I have a hard time not being able to leverage that word so that people continue to hear it as being a horrible, disgusting term. Because when we neuter it by calling it the N-word too many times, right? To me, it seems like, and I would never even say it. I wouldn't even broach it, right? I wouldn't even use it when I'm talking about hate speech, because hate speech comes in many, many, many forms and isn't limited to just the one N word, right? It's all about context. Now, if the person threw a hard R on there and came across like they were, indulging in the use of the word, that's another matter. But, according to him, it says the district attorney is also accused of making racist comments when discussing a murder case last year. Spitzer made the comments when discussing the case of, is it Jamon Buggs? Who was accused of murdering two people over alleged jealousy for dating his ex-girlfriend, who is white. Let's see, what does it say? It said, allegedly, he said, he knows many black people who get themselves out of their bad circumstances and bad situations only by dating white women. And there's a bit of context that would throw what I'm talking about right down the can. Interesting. Spitzer also defended those comments to the outlet. That right there is saying the quiet parts out loud, I suppose. Right? And that is what's getting the rest of it in trouble. Because in academic circles, in private circles, saying the N-word in the context of this is a disgusting term and it should be stamped out, and anybody who says it and means it and not just talking about hate speech, they deserve what they get. But the more you know about this, so you should go and read this article. And it's not about him. For me, it's about society. This word should never have been formed in the lexicon of humanity. Nobody should ever look at another person and be able to frame this word as a descriptor for someone. I mean, it is bizarre to me that humanity does this, but here we are. Hundreds of years later, and we're still marginalizing other people. The next article, I got to move on. The next article is in the Mobile Channel. New York City Marathon is returning at full capacity after a 2020 cancellation and restrictions in 2021 due to COVID-19. The New York City Marathon will return at full capacity of 50,000 runners November 6th. Let's go over to the site. This is again The Hill. Maureen Breslin is the author of this article. And basically, we're going to be back to the New York City Marathon. And with all 50,000 people, it's going to be required that participants be fully vaccinated. So hopefully nobody out there is sick and carrying a fake vaccine passport, because checking in 50,000 people is going to be pretty tough. I've got 3 more articles for you, and then we'll call it a night. And I want to thank you all now, just in case I miss you. Google Maps. This is probably the only article I think I grabbed, because it's technology and society all merged into one. Google Maps live traffic showed the Russian invasion of Ukraine. And there's not much really to read that I want to talk about, but this is a Vice article written by Aaron Gordon, and literally shows the buildup of traffic. It says at 3:15 a.m., Jeffrey Lewis, an open source intelligence expert and professor at Middlebury Institute, saw a traffic jam in Belgorod, Russia, using the traffic layer of Google Maps. Someone's on the move, he tweeted, and had the picture. Wow. It starts exactly where we saw a Russian formation of armor and IFV APC show up yesterday. Someone's on the move. So you can go and check it out over at Vice. They do a great article. Well, I should say they do great articles. It says, Lewis said this wasn't as simple as them loading up Google Maps and seeing a traffic jam, assuming it meant an invasion was occurring. They were also using optical and radar satellite imagery taken days before. On Tuesday, they had a radar picture taken of by Capella Space, a company that provides satellite imagery, showing Russian armored and heavy vehicles lined up in columns, ready to move. If anybody thought that Ukraine was not going to be overrun, and there were people that were talking about it as if, it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. It's just this. Right. Because we didn't see that happen before. We watched it happen before. So my prediction is that he's going to take all of Ukraine and not just the little slivers that were carved out. So good luck to you, Ukraine. Most people just want to live their life and be left alone or be part of society. And they're not about grabbing countries and being billionaires and aiming for being a trillionaire or a god king. It's just not how it is, It's really a shame that there's going to be bloodshed simply because somebody wants to take over a country. And I might be picking a fight by simply saying this here on a stream. but it's a sad day for society. But I'm going to have to keep on going. The news waits for no one. Swiss rivers on track to overheat by the end of the century. Wow, I am painting a very nice picture of the future here. According to an EPFL study, if we take immediate measures to reduce CO2 emissions, we could limit the rise in the temperature of Swiss rivers to 1 degree Celsius between now and 2090 without drastically affecting their discharge. Inaction, on the other hand, would threaten ecosystems and jeopardize the country's agriculture sector and electricity production. So we'll click this link, take you over to phys.org. I don't know how it's pronounced. École Polytechnique Fédérale de Lausanne, I think. Horrible inflection. I'm really sorry. People tend to think that water is an unlimited resource in Switzerland, says Adrian Michael, I believe, who recently completed his PhD in environmental science and engineering at EPFL. But by the end of the century, we may well have to choose between using our rivers to water our crops and damming them up in order to produce electricity. Man, the world's water cycle is just getting wrecked. And it's got to be environmental change. If we keep on polluting the air, it's going to have an effect on everything. After completing a retrospective study on the impact of global warming on Swiss rivers, I think it's pronounced Michael, please correct me if I'm wrong, has now published a forward-looking study on the same topic in the journal Hydrology and Earth System Sciences. The new study, on which he is the lead author, was funded by the Swiss Federal Office for the Environment and selected as a highlight paper for the journal. And this article talks about 3 scenarios and pushing the extremes. But I'm going to stop there and continue on with the last article. I want you to go over to phys.org and read this article and then come back and talk to me about it. And the last article is all about fungi. Now, this is the word in tech. The article is over at phys.org. Fungi. I have to say it like that. I don't know why. Fungi. You have to make a weird face and say fungi. Specifically, those that are mycorrhizal? Yeah. Are natural allies of the forest because they improve tree nutrient acquisition, but which the mycorrhizal feeding strategies yields the greatest tree diversity in a forest. Strategy A, ectomycorrhiza, or strategy B, arbuscular mycorrhiza. So I think one is about trees and the other one might be about the roots. But let's click this link. So this is a University of Montreal article on phys.org. That's who wrote the article. Now, the secret of mycorrhizal fungi. Biologists from the Université de Montreal and the Plant Biology Research Institute asked the question and found the answer is neither one nor the other, but rather a combination of the two, proving that there is strength in numbers, or rather in diversity. So, I was right. So a mycorrhiza, from the Greek myco, fungus, and rhiza, root, is a type of symbiotic relationship between the plant and a fungus that has existed since the colonization of land by plants several million years ago. The positive association for both partners is unquestionably the most widespread and important form of mutualistic symbiosis in terrestrial ecosystems. Let's see. Let's continue on. Ectomycorrhizas. Yeah, I guess. And arbuscular mycorrhizas seem to influence the diversity of tree species in forests in different ways. So I'm curious. I want to see the arbuscular one. Arbuscular mycorrhiza, the oldest and most widespread form of symbiotic association between fungi and plants, affects 80% of terrestrial plants. The two differ in the way the fungus attaches to the plant's roots. Got it. Let's see. Researchers believe the arbuscular mycorrhiza promotes coexistence and diversity in plant species, while ectomycorrhiza promotes the dominance of one or only a few species. Interesting. I suppose we analyzed about 82,000 forest plots across the United States and concluded that the plots that were very strongly dominated by either ectomycorrhiza or arbuscular mycorrhiza had lower tree diversity. Surprisingly, it was the forest with a mix of both mycorrhizal strategies that had a greater number of tree species. So our results indicate that dominance of one mycorrhiza, regardless of its type, appears to decrease forest tree diversity. I guess they both make it stronger. So what do you think? Yay, fungus. On that note, I think we're going to end the show. Go over to phys.org. They don't go really deep into the reads and the science. It's certainly something that I can digest pretty easy. And I think that if you are not into science, you can still glean something from this, from the perspective of we are all part of the same machine, the same processes. We are part of nature. I'm not trying to get all woo-woo about this, but the things that you do as a human being impact the things that your neighbor does next door and people around the world do. And you're never alone. You're never doing something in a vacuum. What you do in your own backyard, it impacts the world in some subtle way. Just like gravity exists and influences things millions of light years away, we are all part of the same system. So while you look out for yourself, look out for people around you as well. And with that, I think we're going to end the show. I want to thank you again. See you tomorrow, 6 p.m.